Hi, everyone. This is Sean with the MassSupport Network here with your COVID-19 update for Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020. So worldwide, cases are more or less at a plateau with about 4.5 million additional new cases in the last week. In the US, we are also more or less plateauing at 1.5 million new cases. These are not really great places to have a plateau. And in Massachusetts, we saw 33,000 additional cases from the week before, which actually about 2,000 fewer cases than the week before. So more or less the case counts are staying steady at the current point, but that may be related to differences in regions. There are still plenty of places where case counts are going up, while some of the places, especially the Midwest, things are trending down. And we should, of course, expect to see some more spikes after the holidays. In terms of deaths, worldwide, we saw about 60,000 deaths in the last week, which is actually a bit lower than the week before. There may be some reporting issues there, though. With the United States, there was 18,000 deaths in the last week, about 1,000 more than the week before. And here in Massachusetts, we lost 371 people to COVID-19 last week, about 18 more than the week before. So things are at the moment holding steady, but big holiday gatherings could very easily kick those back into significant upticks. It's worth mentioning that a lot of places in the world are under significant closures and lockdowns right now, especially Europe. And that may be holding some of these spreading events out for the moment. Looking at the country graphically right now, you can see that while cases are kind of plateaued there for a while, but we are plateaued at record numbers, of course. Saturday was the highest record number date of a single day for case counts in the entire pandemic, with over 240,000 new cases on that day alone. We are still seeing, of course, hospitalization numbers rise, and those will continue to rise even as the cases plateau, because that's usually a week or two after cases there. Meanwhile, our testing is also kind of plateauing there, and deaths are continuing to rise and will likely for the next couple of weeks. Generally speaking, the rule with deaths is about 22 days after a case is declared, 1.6% of new cases will become deaths at that point. So 1.6 out of every 100 cases ends in a death about 3 weeks later. Looking at the country as a whole, this is looking at just raw numbers, the average daily new cases in the past 7 days. Just some huge numbers being put out by various parts of the country, especially California, which is seeing just massive numbers there. 43,000 plus cases on average over the last couple of days. But a lot of places, Texas, Florida, New York, all over 10,000 new cases per day on average. There are very few places that are not showing significant case counts right now, even though the Midwest is dropping down at the moment. The rest of the country is more than making up for that. Speaking of which, you may remember this graph from earlier updates, which shows the week that had the highest single day for record cases in that state. And there was a time when this graph used to actually show the different high points of the spring and summer surges. However, right now, everything with the exception of Hawaii has occurred in the last month and a half. Though it is worth noting that any state that had its highest single date in the week after week after Thanksgiving, that single date may be due to backlog cases coming out on the same day, since there were very few states that were reporting case counts on Thanksgiving itself. So some of these on this row for November 29th may be doubled up, but all the others certainly are not. When we look at hospitalizations, the Midwest is continuing to decline, which is great. The one region where is not on the path to getting overloaded. The South and the West are continuing, however, their rise there. The West is actually passing the number of hospitalizations in the Midwest. That's just it's just a huge amount there. Now, the West is likely to have more hospitals in the Midwest region, but that is still just a huge number there. And here in the Northeast, we have seemingly plateaued for the last couple of days. Hopefully that'll stay, that trend will stay, but with the way case counts have been going, we probably can't hang on to that for too much longer, especially if holiday gatherings lead to more super spreading events. In terms of deaths, this graph shows how the average of deaths has changed from the last week, with the states in the darker gray showing their death rates rising significantly, while states in the lighter blue color are showing death rates falling. So it's, again, that for the most part, that section in the Midwest that was hardest hit in the last month is now starting to drop off, which is great. And maybe that section, that epicenter, is burning itself out, but it has spread to the rest of the country right now, and we should expect to see significant deaths for the next several weeks, fortunately. Moving on to developments. Of course, we did receive our Pfizer vaccine last week, and over 128,000 vaccinations were given in the last week, which unfortunately is less than any single day for actual new cases then. Also, the CDC panel gave advice on the second round of vaccines after healthcare workers and long-term care facility residents received their vaccinations. They recommended that the seniors in the 75 plus age bracket and certain essential workers, including emergency services workers, teachers, grocery workers, receive the next round. There's been some debate about prioritizing seniors, which would limit deaths versus prioritizing essential workers, which would get the economy running again more quickly. And the CDC panel has basically split the difference, saying 75 plus and certain essential workers first, and then 65 plus and other essential workers later. Now, of course, it's really up to the states how these go, and Massachusetts has released its own vaccination plan, though that is a fairly similar one there. Also, a lot of prominent leaders have gotten their vaccine in the last couple of days, including President-elect Joe Biden, who received his vaccine yesterday, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who received their vaccine on Friday. And of course, Santa Claus, who Dr. Anthony Fauci confirmed with a CNN town hall with Sesame Street that he had personally vaccinated Kris Kringle to ensure safe holiday delivery of presents to prevent Santa from becoming a one-man super spreader event. And Dr. Fauci himself is scheduled to get the vaccine today. Really, at the time of this recording, he is likely getting the vaccine right now. Of course, all this is burying the lead because the biggest news this week is that the Moderna vaccine was authorized for use in the United States. And as we speak, hundreds of thousands of doses of that are being shipped around the country. This is really big for all those rural hospitals which don't have the freezer capacity to store the Pfizer vaccine, since the Moderna vaccine is much more shelf stable and can be kept in a regular refrigerator for several days rather than basically just a couple of hours like the Pfizer one is. So this is going to broadly increase the range in which we can start vaccinating, and we should start seeing massive vaccination numbers in the coming weeks. Now, of course, there is still not yet even enough vaccine in existence to cover even just our healthcare workers, but it is a start, and we will start seeing it. It still will be another 6 weeks or so before we really start to see immunity for the people who have gotten the first shots, but that just puts a light on the horizon, which is pretty appropriate for the winter solstice. Look here at the vaccine progress. So we now have 6 vaccines in early use around the world, including the 2 that we are using, Pfizer and Moderna, 2 that have been approved for full use, which does include the Pfizer vaccine in many countries. But also, it's important to take a quick look at those earlier phases because there still are more and more vaccine projects in the works. The 2 that we've been talking about are not going to be the only ones distributed. There is, over 80 vaccine projects out there. We're likely to get a lot more in the coming year, which is great to have plenty of options, different formulations for different populations, different environments, etc. So you can always find our stats and trend sources through COVID Tracking Project, New York Times, or mass.gov for Massachusetts specific numbers. And one final thought as we go into the first of the 2 holiday weekends coming up. There won't be an update this Friday for obvious reasons, but we'll catch up again next Tuesday. Today is got through the winter solstice here, and there's also the grand conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter, where the 2 gas giant planets are the closest they ever get to each other. This is an event that happens once roughly every 400 years. It was last witnessed in Galileo's time. So if you have a view in the southern sky near sunset, when you take a look, it is possible even to perhaps see both planets through the same binocular lens. So go take a look at that for some bright star on the horizon this holiday season. For more from the MassSupport Network, you can find us on social media or on our website. Remember, wear your mask, wash your hands, and we'll be here if you need us. Stay safe.